Hey, folks, welcome to the Beans and Dice podcast. I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
And I'm William.
And we have our special guest. He runs his own YouTube channel called One Mic, One Game. One Game, One Mic.
One mic, one game.
One mic, one game.
There you go.
Mike Lorenzo.
Mike Lorenzo.
Joining us remotely as a co-host for today's call-in show. Thank you, Mike, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
And today's episode is going to be another live call-in show. No direct topics today other than talking about what we've been doing, what we've been gaming.
Yep.
Just kind of go around having those conversations while we wait for this phone to
Light up
with
your phone calls. Yeah.
Have people join us to talk about what they've been playing and what they've been up to.
Yeah.
After this, and this is going to be the cool part, after this, we're going to start a new show.
Yeah.
So
little extra content. Yeah.
New content, extra content we're going to introduce. What we're going to bring to the table is a show, almost like a video podcast, where we get to go in depth and talk about all the things that we've been up to, games we've been playing, game topics in gaming news, things like that.
This one will not be live, so don't hang around after the call-in show waiting for the next show, because that'll be posted later. Yeah.
Thanks, Rob, for being clear.
Be clear on that. Yeah.
This is something that we will post on probably Sunday, Monday. We got to make that decision. Post in the comments what day you think is best for doing the show itself, like posting the video podcast, where you get to hear us really talk about what we've been up to. Because what we found is when Rob and I started doing the call-in show, it really was a place where we can talk about what we've been doing, what we've been gaming, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, we'd get about 15 minutes of calls, and we'd have 45 minutes of chat, and that has
it was just us.
Flip-flopped since then, which is great, which is what we wanted. But now we're about 10 minutes of
our time,
and then 50 minutes of other time,
which is exactly what we wanted.
Which was the intent. That was perfect. Yeah.
Right, so we figure we have to bring in some more content for y'all so y'all can see how we game here in Tampa.
Yep.
And we're going to do that as a separate podcast. Look for it probably Sunday.
Okay.
Sunday is when you're going to look for it, is when I'll post it up.
And you're planning to post that audio and video as a podcast and a YouTube?
Correct. It'll be a full podcast as well as the video recording of it on YouTube.
Excellent.
So that next Thursday, you can have something to start the conversation with. Like, talk about what we talked about, things that maybe you disagree with. We're really looking for that. Things that you disagreed with. Like, we really don't want the, I agree with everything you say stuff. We want you to tell us when we're wrong type
Why
stuff.
we're wrong, how we're wrong, when we're wrong. Yeah, absolutely.
All the time.
And this is why we brought Mike to the show, because Mike does that so well with me. He's good at telling.
Yes, there you go. You're wrong already. Haven't even started yet, and you're wrong.
Keep it going, brother.
I'm gonna get that phone line opened up.
On that note, we will get that phone line individual.
One line, yeah. So remember, we always just got the one line. So if you're wanting to talk to us and somebody's on, just give it
eventually,
a few seconds.
Maybe we'll go into a Patreon and get some funding to pay for the multi-line system.
And we can hire somebody to monitor the lines for us. And
y'all may not see it, but my son is off screen right now. He is actually engineering the show right now.
So first time.
We could have someone engineering the line, screening the call, getting their topic and lining them up. And then we bring them on back to back to back.
Carlos is usually running the board over there, so he spends about half of his focus on cutting the cameras and answering the calls and all that kind of stuff. But tonight we've got his son for the first time running the cameras, so hopefully that'll take a little off his load. And I
think last week there was a few things you talked about. And I totally missed.
Yeah. And you mentioned them after we talked about them. You're like, hey, how about that? I was like, oh, yeah, we just talked about that.
Yeah, Rob repeated himself like 4 or 5 times on the same thing last week.
And that's my bad.
To repeat a little bit
because I was engineering and hosting, all that good stuff. So the phone line is open, 813-618-7099.
There you go.
Oh, got a call.
Oh, look at that. Let's bring this caller in.
I know who that is.
Beans and Ice Podcast. State your name and where you're calling from.
I'm Mitchell, and I'm Connor. It's the call about. Hey, you ruined our shtick, man. We were about to do something really cheesy. You interrupted us.
All right, rewind it. Let's try it again.
Okay,
go.
Hi, I'm Mitchell, and I'm Connor, and this is a call about how we play board games. How we game. Oh, Connor ruined
how we game.
How we game.
And the extra emphasis on the we.
Yeah. We're in the middle of game night, but I didn't want to miss the call, so I have Connor here with me.
Sweet. You're taking a break from game night to call us chumps, yeah?
I love it.
Yeah. So we just got through our first play of the newest release from Leader Games, Oath.
Oh.
Have you guys seen so I actually didn't kickstart it. My buddy Doug did, and he had to leave because he has work tomorrow.
Yeah.
But fulfilled a couple weeks ago, and we got our first game in. It's semi-campaigny, so we're trying to get the same group every time, and it was definitely interesting. I don't know if you guys have seen anything about it.
I have. I've been seeing nothing but this game online on the YouTubes for the last 2 or 3 days. People posting their opinions. I think Shut Up and Sit Down actually just
William brought that up before he came over.
Yeah, did their review of it.
It got, like, mediocre, I think.
Let's hear your thoughts on it.
So, when Connor, interrupt me at any time.
Yeah.
At first, I will say that it appears daunting. It's not as daunting as it appears. I don't know if you guys have played Root, but Root comes with like 50 different rule books. This game did as well. I mean, if you look up like a watch it played on YouTube, you're not going to find one less than 30 minutes. And honestly, everyone tries to explain it in a different way because there's just so much to it. So it's kind of crunchy. There's a lot of little minutia that you have to make sure you remember. But the game itself isn't as heavy, I think, as it feels. I thought we were going to go in and be heavily asymmetric, but really it's just one player that's slightly asymmetric, and kind of a lot of his powers can be taken by other players throughout the game. And so there's the Chancellor, and his win condition is basically just, at least in the first game, control the most territories, but he can only win that way at the end of the game in some of the later rounds based on a dice roll. So the other players have a number of different ways that they can get a victory condition. And so your goal is to try to get that early before the Chancellor can get his win condition. So lots of different ways to end the game.
Right. Yeah, from what I understand, like you mentioned, it's going to change each game you play. There potentially could be the same, I guess it's Chancellor, the same leader that starts out the game, but they're going to draw or possibly come into that game from whatever they did at the end of the last game with a possibly or potentially a different objective each time. So in one game, the objective may be, like you say, to hold the most territory for X amount of rounds and dominate the landscape. And then in the next game, it may be to collect the most wealth and hold the most wealth for X amount of turns. And from what I understand, a ton of negotiation in this game. There's a fair amount of non-structure where you can just kind of make deals and go completely off the rails and kind of very customizable, I guess is what I really saw.
Are you saying like a sandbox feel to it?
The rules not so sandboxy.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
So to comment on what you were saying just now, Rob, about the goals, the interesting thing is whoever wins the game chooses what the goal is for the next game. And then what you were saying about, the other options that people have and the negotiation. So the Chancellor can basically bribe other players to become citizens. And whenever they're a citizen, all their troops become his troops.
Right.
So he gets their help. But if he achieves his victory condition and they achieve another thing that changes from game to game, then the victory passes on to the citizen instead of onto him. So there's some risk. There's a lot of give and take.
Right. And from what I understood, like I said, I was watching the Shut Up and Sit Down, and I watched, actually, it was at least one or two other reviews of it. I watched the Dice Tower review, and then there was one other I think I saw. I can't remember who the third one was, but there was something about, again, the way the game starts, the objective can change. Sometimes it's drawn at the beginning, but sometimes it's based on whoever won the last one. If they completed certain objectives, and this, again, may change because, as you know, it's some people have kind of called it legacy, although it's really not legacy. But depending on the way the person won the last one, they may come into the next one having to maintain that objective. They may not actually draw a new objective. It may stay the same objective as the way they finished the last one. So that does change also from game to game. So from what I understand, the rules can change pretty drastically from game to game. Just how you play, how you complete, how you win, different elements of it. So.
That might be in later games.
Yep.
So far, I mean, basically at the end of the game, you have to stop. You can't start picking up certain things on the board. You have to pick up and have them out on the board the next game.
Right.
So far, we didn't keep our objectives, but maybe that's something that happens later.
Okay. Yeah. And again, it does change from the series of plays. The rules will change a little bit. So yeah.
What Connor say?
Yeah. Go ahead, Connor.
So the only objective that actually changes at the end of the game. So usually, the winner of the game, whoever that is going to get to pick the win condition for the Chancellor for the next game.
Okay.
So the Chancellor's win condition changes every single game.
Right.
Give me an example of a win condition. Help me understand. What's an example of a win condition?
So first one, Mitchell.
Control the most territory.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, the chancellor can only win in rounds 5, 6, or 6, 7, and 8, and it's based on a dice roll. So that in those latter turns, he only has to roll like a. So as long as he doesn't roll a 1 or 2.
Right.
But like in round 6, you have to roll a 6. Yeah, dice don't like you, huh, Rob?
That was William, but
So-
yeah, him either.
Mike's got a question
Oh,
for you.
sorry.
I was going to
So
say,
that was-
it
so that was
sounds
the
kind of
first-
like scenario-based that kind of like one scenario ties into the next scenario to the next. Is that how it plays out?
So, I mean, kind of, but it does. It's not like it's a new scenario as far as I know. Now, I've only played one. I think the game is pretty much the same, except for, like we said, the objective changes. And then, so the winner got to pick some more cards to come into the deck.
Right.
And it was going to be of the same suit that he had the majority of. So the deck
Okay.
is changing and the objective might change, but everything else seems pretty much the same so far. But from what Rob is saying, it sounds like some things might change more down the road.
Some things could change. And just to touch on the deck thing, that has been one of the critiques I've heard in a couple of the different reviews that I've seen, is that the game can... You will create the game as you go, and that's why some people say it's kind of legacy, because, again, you will have certain groups who get very backstabby and very competitive and very clashy, and as you add those cards from game to game, if you keep winning that way, you will add more and more and more of those types of cards, and then so as you get through 4 or 5, the game can play entirely different, because now you've got so many of those backstabbing type cards in the game that it changes the balance of the game. And so they said that that's a critique some people have. Some people consider it a feature and a plus. Some people consider it a minus, because you can really take this game that at the beginning is very open, allows you to do all different kinds of things, but as you do one thing more and more and you start getting wins that way, you start forcing the game more in that direction.
So that's where the legacy comparison comes in.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's Oath. Who's the publisher of that one?
Leader Games.
Leader
The same
Games.
people as Root and Bass and Fourth.
Yeah, the meeples look similar.
Yep, it's just like the Root and Meeples.
The same artwork.
Well, also Mitchell and
Art style.
I got together this week during a lunch break, and he had me on his show, Board Game Battles. It's on YouTube, Board Game Battles,
What?
where we had a battle regarding Blood Rage and Champions of Midgard about Viking-themed games. So he should be posting that up soon, and then Tuesday, and then through that Sunday, folks, through that Sunday, you have the opportunity to vote for Mitchell's game, Blood Rage, or the game I championed for, see the puns, Champion of Midgard. So I
And
asked,
so
That's a tough call,
make sure
actually.
you vote. Make sure you vote, and make sure you vote for Blood Rage.
Oh, yeah? That's the one? Okay, I got it.
no, of course, we both know the best one is Beyond the Sun.
Exactly.
Good callback to last
Callback.
week.
Best
Yeah.
Viking game. So that is Board Game Battles with Mitchell. Check us out Sunday. We're gonna. He hosted me on his show. Thank you for having me, Mitchell. And I look forward to seeing what the audience says about our picks.
For sure. And I think I know what they'll say, that I argued it better, but we'll see.
Well, English is not my first language, so I won't dispute that with you.
Oh,
But-
yeah, pull that card.
Every day, all day.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Enjoy your game night. Thank you for calling in.
Sure thing. Thanks.
All right, that was Mitchell from New Iberia, not Old Iberia.
New?
Get it
new.
right.
Oh, not old.
It's New Iberia, Louisiana, with his buddy Connor from Board Game Battles. Robert, he was talking about Oath, but Robert was talking about the legacy aspect of it. And folks, phone lines open, 813-618-7099 is the phone number, so looking for callers now. But we'll continue on that Oath topic. It kind of made me think of Betrayal Legacy a little bit.
Okay.
Because you talked about at the end of the game, when you win, you get to put cards into the deck
Right.
that synergize with you.
Right, with the way you won that game, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So now in Betrayal Legacy, as you acquire new items, as you win games, you get to sticker things with your family's crest.
Yes.
Those cards give you extra bonuses whenever you use cards that have your family's. See, I was looking at William.
Mike,
Yeah,
have you,
He's
Mike,
looking over
have you
there.
played this? You played it?
I've played Betrayal Legacy. I think I've played like three
Three scenarios?
scenarios
Did
of
you
it.
win?
Actually, I think my character is the only one that survived, and he started out being like 20 years old or something like that, and I think he's in his late 80s
Oh,
now.
that's a good.
That's,
one.
that's my goal then.
Hey, Robert, did you win?
Oh, I won. I haven't played Legacy yet, but I played.
Ask me. Ask
yeah,
me.
my
Ask
first
me.
time. No, we're not asking. Don't ask him. Don't
Did
ask
you
him.
win?
No, I didn't win. Ask Julian. Ask Julian, William.
Julian, did you win?
William, did you win?
I shot both y'all in the butt.
William won. William did win in our first game, our first kind of learning game of it, Betrayal. But it did that really came to mind when you talked about Oath, the idea that as you win, and then it begins to unbalance things because it plays towards your style or your family.
Possibly, yeah. Although, as they were saying, in each of these games, only the person who wins, everything from all the losers clears off the board, and then whoever won takes, I don't know if it's all their pieces or some of their pieces, and then moves them over to maybe one area, and then they start the game as the Chancellor, and now they have stuff on the board. Everybody else starts as a fresh, they get a brand new fresh card, they wipe it clean, and they're what's called an exile. And so everybody who's not the Chancellor starts as an exile, and then as he mentioned, during the game, the exiles can make deals with the Chancellor to be brought in as what's called citizens. And so when you become a citizen, I believe you get like a new board or a new title or something, and now you have new rules that you're playing by. But as he said, now everything you do helps the Chancellor, so you're all in any money
kind of like
you
an
make,
allyship there.
any money you make, any resources make, you're now working for me, and you now have a chance to win because you'll have a secret objective. And so now you're helping the Chancellor win, and if I win, but then you completed your secret objective kind of behind my back, you actually will win, and then you become the Chancellor for the next game.
I like that. I like that idea.
Yeah, it's
Now, how it executes, that's a good question. What do you know about Oath, Michael?
I know absolutely nothing. I've seen a couple of videos posted online, but I really haven't had a chance to look at it.
yeah.
I don't know. So, not that I don't like the artwork, because I do like that style. I think I'm just kind of turned off by those games for some reason. I kind of liked Root, but again, it's like a beast of a game. It's one of those games where I think until you play that particular race or that particular animal a number of times and kind of master it, there's just so much to it, and it's one of those things where you almost have to play with the same group,
Right.
So that everybody can get a feel, because it's a game you have to play a couple of times to get a good feel for.
And Oath is
And you
even more that way.
Even more?
Yeah, even
than
more that
Root?
way than Root. That's what all the reviews have said.
wow.
That it's
Every
even-
single review says
It's even deeper.
You may or may not like the first gameplay. In fact,
Yeah.
it may turn you away. So you have to try give it 3 or 4 gameplays and then make your decision.
Well, shut up and sit down. Their actual recommendation at the end of the video was that if you don't already have a group who wants to play this game, who has been waiting for this game, absolutely do not buy it, because
I was gonna
Yeah.
say this is a game that probably wouldn't hit the table very much in my house.
yeah, it requires a very specific kind of group that's looking forward to it, that liked Root, that wants more of that, deeper that, and needs to know what they're getting into. So, yeah.
That's tough. Like, when I think of some of the things I like about Betrayal Legacy is the idea that you don't need the same people every time.
Yeah, that would be
You're
this,
building on the families. The families are the ones that are improving. People can swap families throughout the games, which we're probably not. But if someone bows out, someone else can take over that family and move it forward.
Yeah.
And when we've talked about that in the campaign games, it's just tough. Like Mitchell said, Mitchell even said it. Trying to find a group to do this again, multiple times. He didn't sound optimistic.
Yeah, and usually with smaller groups, the easier. I mean, if you play with 2 or 3 versus 4 or 5 or 6, that was the recommendation also for them, that absolutely don't play Oath with less than 3. 6 is probably too much, but 3, 4, 5 is the sweet spot. But you need 3, 4, 5 who are willing to sit down and play 10 times to get the full experience. So,
but that's what the problem was with Root. You needed at least 4 players.
Right. I think it was Anthony and Francis from AntLab were talking about that when we had our conversation.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about Root, and they said how it just wasn't for them because as a 2-player game, it just didn't.
It doesn't work.
Although
doesn't
Root
work.
supposedly has fixed that to some extent. They did their 2nd expansion or 3rd expansion. I can't remember. It was whatever the most recent one, I believe. They came out with 2 new, we'll call them races, that were specifically made to play 2 players. So they were made to counterbalance each other. So supposedly that was their approach to try to fix that. So you can always pick 2 out of any of the base or expansions to play against each other, but these 2 were balanced to play against each other.
Oh, that's
so,
nice.
Yeah,
I like that.
Something they tried to
Kind of
fix.
like a beginner decks
Yeah.
in Magic, kind of playing each other.
Yeah.
Phone lines open, 813-618-7099. Don't let Mitchell be the only caller today.
No, he won't be.
We gotta-
He will be.
Yeah.
Y'all need to jump on your phones and let your people know on the Facebooks and the blast and let them know we're here waiting for phone calls.
A little late now, probably, but
Never too late. 813-618-7099. Call us. Tell us about what you've been playing, what you've been up to, any new games or any new acquisitions. Barring that, I guess we'll go around and do the same. We'll start with Mike. Give us something that you've played, just a quick tidbit.
Well, I mean, as soon as early as last night, Rob and I
late night
broke
session.
out, we broke out brass. We actually met at Armada to learn and play Dwellings of Eldervale, and that was a 4-player game. And then after that, we kind of closed out Armada at 10. And I was like, I'm just kind of getting warmed up. Anybody else want to, head back to my place and we'll play a game? And Rob was the only taker on that. He probably was
Sure.
regretting it this morning when he had to wake up early.
Yeah,
but
it was a little early, but yeah.
Now, he'll leave here like at 2 a.m.
Yeah, sometimes.
on the regular.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Rob's a beast. When
Yeah.
he goes to
It's
conventions,
all about games, yeah.
He does not sleep.
Yeah.
But it was a good game. I honestly thought I had Rob all the way till the very end, and then we started doing the in-game scoring, and he snuck ahead. What was it, like a 7-point spread? I think.
I think it was 7.
End?
Yeah, at the end. So it was a close game. It was 150 something, 140 something. I think. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
So it was close.
It reminded me how much I like that game, because I hadn't played since I played with you guys. I think it was at Rob's house when we played, or when I played last. But it was definitely a little bit of a refresher.
Yeah.
And but man, I just love that game.
Yeah.
So
Great game, and I was gonna say I think it's the 3rd time I've played this in about the last 2 weeks. I know Carlos has played it once or twice in the last couple of weeks. Will, have you got in any of those with us yet?
I have missed
No?
every single opportunity you guys have played it.
Okay, I know you've watched at least.
You shirked
Yeah.
every opportunity.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
every
yeah.
time I've said, let's play some brass.
Right. Okay, let's play some brass. Oh, I got to be home in like an hour.
Yeah.
That's not
William,
gonna work.
have you played it at all, or?
It looks beautiful. I want to try it. So,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
they
so
all-
you haven't actually played? Oh,
No,
man.
I have not.
All right, we're
You
breaking it out
are-
after the
you're
show tonight.
missing out.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no.
I'm gonna get
We'll see about
I'm gonna
that.
get
but,
trounced
yeah,
if they do that.
Be a late night, but yeah, it's a great game, and again, it'd been a little while. I mentioned to you since I had played it until I played this last 3 times recently, and so the first time I played it, we had to brush up on some of the rules, and we made a couple little mistakes that we fixed as we went along. But yeah, every time I play this, it just reminds me. And I know you mentioned it last night, or maybe early this morning. But you were just sitting there staring at your stuff, and you were like, "Oh, this is such a good game." And I was like, I have that reaction every time I play this. At some point during the game, I just sit there and stare at the board, and I'm like, "Oh, this is such a good game."
It just all comes together. Everything, the art, the gameplay, the history base of it. I know,
Yeah.
Carlos, you like that.
Oh yeah, the theme, the historical
The theme,
piece of it.
Yes.
But I really love the economies of it. I love the way that you're putting things out there as material into an economy in hopes that others use it to help themselves, but then
Right.
that ultimately ends up helping you.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my favorite pieces of it. So that
Yeah.
was Mike playing brass. Willem, what have you played?
Oh, well, we played.
Oh,
Betrayal
folks, 813-618-7099. I see y'all watching. Call in.
Maybe
call
they
in.
just want to hear us today tonight.
And that could be it.
We played Betrayal Legacy. That was honestly my first Legacy game ever. I have not played
Wow.
any Legacy titles ever
You
yet.
should have seen his face when I ripped the cards.
That's a thing that happens.
Well, no, he does not rip it. He ripped them and then just threw them behind him.
I was being theatrical.
Oh, he was being very theatrical. Yes.
Typical Carlos. Yeah.
And without giving away spoilers, though, he did something, and I could have sworn a mistake was made, and we all thought a mistake was made. But that first game really tricked us. And Michael, you probably know what I'm talking about. The first.
It was the first
chapter.
Yeah, we don't want to be mostly spoil free here, but
I don't want to give anything away. I'm trying to recall because it's been a while since I played.
It just
but-
tricked everybody. How's that?
Oh,
Yeah, there
yes.
you go.
I know exactly what you're talking about because we had the same reaction
Yep,
when
there you
we
go.
played. We're
I-
expecting one thing the whole time, and then it was just like, what?
Must have done something wrong.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's the very first reaction
I
everyone
started
gets.
rummaging through all my broken, ripped cards.
Yes.
Like, did I do something wrong? Did I read something wrong? Like,
Yeah.
I was just mind screwed.
Yeah,
But it worked. It actually worked that way.
100%. Yeah.
So that was actually good. I did bring over Dice Miner for everybody to play. Finally
Yeah.
got the Kickstarter for that. That came in.
Did you guys get that to the table? Or
We did.
Yes, I played it with Carlos
Three times.
3 times,
3 or 4.
and
Wow.
Rob played it. It was a couple nights ago.
Just played it the once, but yeah.
It's a light. It's a filler. I'm classifying it as a filler game,
yeah.
but I like the filler game. I like the dice.
There are lots of dice in it, so
So-
you know my opinion.
So
Yeah.
Rob loves it.
Yeah,
then, huh?
anything with that
He
many
freaking
dice in it
absolutely
can't be
loves it.
good. Yeah.
Listen, dice are just another name for cubes.
Yeah.
Cubes with spots.
Yeah.
With
well,
pips.
yeah, you gotta take the spots off, and I'm okay. So lots of different colors and lots of neat little cool designs on them, which is nice.
I
but,
finally did get confirmation of one of my Kickstarters getting delivered by the Saturday, I
What?
believe. Tortuga $21.99.
Nice.
$20.77, I believe. I don't know. It's one of those.
20 something.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that was delayed because of the coof. So
Yeah.
it's finally being delivered. I can't wait. That's gonna looks like and feels like it's gonna be like Tyrants of the Underdark, but set in futuristic space with resource management.
Ooh, futuristic space.
It's a lot of backstabby corporate espionage with pirates. It's like space pirates.
Sounds good to me.
So, and it's also a deck builder. So you have to build a deck of cards. What do you want to be? Do you want to be the pirate? You want to be the corporate espionage? And you have to control certain parts of the planets that are out there. It looks nice, and I think I'm mostly looking forward to playing on our game day. Who Goes There second edition?
Oh man, I wish I could make that.
I know.
I've been wanting to play that game. Yeah.
Did you? I know you got the first edition, and I
No,
read.
I didn't.
Oh, you
I've
didn't?
never played it, but it's been on my wish list for a long time.
They did fix a lot of the rules, and so far we're up to 5 out of 6 players.
Did
Count
they
right
fix the helicopter? That's what everybody asks. Have they fixed the helicopter at the end?
now. Yes, they added. They made it to a set number, first and foremost. That
Okay.
Each player must get, depending how many players you get, each one is worth 6 points. So you have to equal that number first, depending on the number of players, and then you still roll the die at the end to get those points, and then you still get the bonus cards added on top of that.
Oh, nice.
So
okay.
they fixed that part.
Cool.
And they also fixed the issue where if the thing does make it on the helicopter, they fixed that part as well. And then they added keys into the game. So if you're locked out from the camp, you can use a key to get back inside.
Interesting.
fixed
Okay,
that
so
part
it
as
sounds
well.
like they touched on a lot of things then, a lot of complaints.
And they added a mechanic to where you don't die instantly. They added a frostbite mechanic. So if you get stuck outside, normally how you stuck outside too long, well, they added frostbite.
Okay, cool.
So they changed a few things in there.
And
Sounds like it's for the better.
Who Goes There?
Who Goes There?
Mhm.
A lot of gaming going on for me. So I've had a lot. I think Dice Miner for me was a good filler because we played that outside multiple times outside.
During a rainstorm. Yeah.
During a rainstorm. I remember that.
What?
Yeah. It
I was
pouring
I was
rain.
smoking
He was-
some
yeah, he
chicken.
was outside grilling.
And we couldn't give up on it.
Yeah.
Couldn't give up on the chicken, so we had to sit in the garage while we covered the smoker or the grill with a canopy.
Yeah.
And Dice Miner was a good, durable game. It worked.
Yeah,
it
there's
definitely worked.
Got some cardboard. The player, your players that you choose are cardboard. But everything else in that's plastic or dice. So that was good. Yeah.
But I think cool thing is today I got my copies of second edition Zombicide
Oh,
and the
Nice.
DC expansion, the Washington.
with presidents.
Washington ZC or
ZC or
DZ.
ZZD.
Does
or
it come with
DZ?
presidents?
Yeah.
Well, I have the president.
That may have been
package.
a Kickstarter exclusive. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. Well,
It
Mike's-
has-
Mike's looking for his copy.
It has quite a few presidents in there.
He's
there
got the
you go, right
presidents.
there.
There you go. Yeah. Presidential box.
Yeah, look at that.
And
I'll give you $1.
They went very comical with that.
I'll tell you no.
Nope. Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it.
Not gonna do it.
Not a president, but
No, I picked that one up because I really want to play that one with the kid. He had a blast with the Betrayal Legacy, And I really thought, okay, he's probably right at that age, my 14-year-old, that zombie side would probably be a hit full of fun.
So did you get it to the table or?
It's delivered today.
Oh, okay. I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are on it because I mean, I loved it the 2 times that I played it. It seemed to maybe outstay a little long, even though I guess we were kind of learning it. I think we could probably burn through the rounds a little bit quicker now that we know how to play it. But I'm very interested to hear what your thoughts are on it after playing it.
So I want to know, do you think it's like more gamey, like than the first edition with the rules?
Well, here's the thing. I've never played. I played one game of Invader when Dave brought it, that one monthly game get together, and that was really my only experience ever with Zombicide. So the fact that they said that they streamlined it in the second edition, like they cleaned it up a little bit, I was thinking to myself, like, man, what was the first edition like? Because this seems a little long to me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, we absolutely enjoyed it, and it got to the point where it's like hordes of zombies were just spawning every single round. It's just like, this feels exactly like an episode of The Walking Dead or something, so.
Well, if you look over here to my left, you're right. Yep, right there. You're looking at it. You can see it. Yeah, touch it. Reach out.
Remotely over the interwebs. Reach out and touch.
That would be cool if you could find a way to make that like actually a hand come out of there.
Not gonna have it.
That's first edition, and I'll tell you, first edition got played a few times and then put away, never again.
Well, too fiddly.
Between noise, between the shooting where you hit your friends before you hit zombies, all that, it actually extended its welcome a lot longer than probably second edition will. But what really triggered me to buy second edition was our plays of the Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Because when they talked about Streamline, that Night of the Living Dead, you just play.
Yeah.
You're just having fun. And if they can do that with the zombie side, so now you got kind of that animation, cartoony fun, right, that they have going on there, I think it's going to be a hit with the kids.
Yeah. Is that phone still working, Carlos?
That's what I was asking.
Yeah. It's there. It's working. It's
Yeah,
ain't
all right, got it.
maybe we got to start calling people now.
Make out calls. Yeah.
Michael from Armada Games,
Fortino, yeah.
Fortino said he won't be able to call in because they've now updated their hours.
Yeah, he's extended the hours. We talked about that when we were there last night.
So he said they're going to be up until 10, so he won't be able to call in. So I'm thinking if we don't get any phone calls, we'll call Armada.
Yeah, just tie up the phone line for the store and just chat with him.
When he answers as if it's just another customer calling, we can say, "Hey, it's us."
Yeah, how you doing?
We got some comments though.
That was me.
Oh, that you?
Yeah, that was me.
On the chat.
Mr. Jeeves, he says production quality of the game is fantastic. So he's, I'm assuming he's talking about Zombicide because that came in for the Zombicide. I agree with Mr. Jeeves on that. But it's never not been fantastic.
There we go.
Here's a caller.
Beans and Ice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Mike from Temple Terrace.
He got me. I can like see him over there. And dang, Mike got me.
He was testing the phone line for us. He was just making sure it's still working.
It still works.
Yeah. Funny. That's good.
This guy over here, man, I tell you.
That's funny. That's actually pretty, because I looked at the phone, I answered it, then I look over and he's got a phone to his head.
He's like, hey, that's a coincidence. Oh, crap.
Sorry,
Wait,
guys.
he's referring to who goes there.
Who goes there? Oh, okay. Not
The
Zombicide.
components for that game is remarkable.
Yeah, I know you brought it over and opened it up a little bit and showed it to us.
Yeah, it's.
Is Mr. Jeeves local? I don't know. Is he Tampa? He has.
I don't know.
Does it matter?
Because we got our.
does it matter?
Well, William's hosting it on game day.
I got one spot left, so
Already?
that's it. It's like one spot left open.
Well, Mr. Jeeves, if you're local to the, I think we'll be at your turn, July 12th. I'm
right,
sorry,
correct.
July 10th.
Yeah, whatever that
10th,
Saturday is.
Saturday, July 10th, we're going to be at your turn doing our monthly game day. William's hosting a game of Who Goes There, and he's looking for one more player spot. Oh, Chicago? Close enough.
Yeah, it's
We'll
close
see
enough.
you.
You'll fly in for a game of Who Goes There.
yeah, totally worth it. Totally worth it.
Yeah, you can get a $99 round trip ticket probably. But should we hit on dwellings, Mike? I know you and I.
Yeah, I was asking. I actually forgot to turn my mic back on.
You
I was
wanna
going to
call
ask,
in?
what have you been playing lately, Rob? Yeah, I'll call back.
You want to call in and
back
ask? Yeah, you can. So yeah, we got a chance to play dwellings. So we played that yesterday. Nick Oben from our game group brought it out. He's had the game since it kickstarted, so he's had it since originally, and he said he's played, I think, twice, both with his family. And so he said he was looking to, his son is 9, 10, somewhere.
Nah, he's Gabriel's age and Ian's age.
Okay, 9 years old. And so he said that had been his biggest competitor challenge that he had played so far. So he was looking forward to playing with some gamers. In true Nick fashion, he did pretty much wipe the floor with us in that game. But admittedly, it was his third game, and the other three of us, it was our first game. But it was a good game. I like it here. You can see on the BGG, I've got it up here. It's an 8.4 rating. Plays 1 to 5 players. Says 60 to 150 minutes. I'd say it took us probably, about 2-ish hours?
Yeah, about that long. I'll look it up while you're talking about it.
Okay, that's right. You keep the clock on our games. But yeah, it was good. It was actually... I had been wanting to play it since he got it, because we play Gloomhaven over at Nick's house all the time, and he had it sitting off to the side from when he got it originally. He put it away for a while, then he brought it back out because he wanted to try to get it to the table. And we've been talking for weeks about maybe skipping a Gloomhaven night and playing Dwellings, and that's actually what last night was. He and I and Joe were going to play Gloomhaven, and then Nick was like, well, let's play Dwellings instead. We've played Gloomhaven for, 2.5 years now. Let's skip a night. Let's play some Dwellings. And so we pulled it out.
That's commitment right there.
Yeah, and I mentioned it to Carlos. I guess Carlos mentioned it to you that we were going to be up there, and so you had asked if you could join in, and so 4 of us ended up playing. It is we got a caller, so we'll jump over there.
Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
Carlito, this is Nick.
Oh,
Chapel.
Were your ears burning?
Yeah, they were. Absolutely. I managed to tune in and saw you guys talking about Dwellings, so I figured, I would just join the conversation. Didn't mean to cut you off, Rob. Keep going.
Oh, well, no, I was going to say,
no.
We just started. You go ahead and pick it up.
You call.
I just said that the 4 of us were playing, and I had not gotten into anything yet, so I was going to start talking about mechanics, but go ahead and tell us about Dwellings.
Oh, okay. I mean, it was a lot of fun. Glad we got to the table. I had a lot of fun. It is Dwellings of Eldervale. I do have the full Kickstarter version because, Carlos, it is always Kickstarter season.
Overproduced?
And yeah.
A little bit.
You saw how much room it takes on the table. It is a bit of a table hog, though Dwellings in my collection may be the most table hog for then ultimately the most readily approachable mechanic game. So it's worker placement. It's a worker placement game. And unlike a lot of worker placement games, there aren't actually that many different places to put your worker insofar as like a bunch of different actions. You think about like viticulture or dynogenics or even tiny epic dinosaurs, worker placement games where there's like a dozen different things that your workers can do. In Dwellings of Eldervale, you're basically going and harvesting goods from an elemental realm of Eldervale, or you are taking one of about 5 different unique actions. So it's a pretty tight set of actions that are available to you, which is good. The variability is when you harvest resources from the various realms, you don't get just the resources, you actually get a resource token, which you can use for the resources represented on the token, or you can use to augment and empower your tableau that you're building throughout the game as well. So one of the actions you can take helps you build up your personal area, your personal engine, your tableau in front of you, as opposed to the common area, like worker placement games always have the common area. And then what's really neat about this game, my favorite mechanic, and I think at the table we talked about this probably being the most fun, satisfying part, is when it's time to get your workers back. A lot of games, worker placement games, after you place your workers, it's the end of the round, pull your workers back, and then the next round starts. In Dwellings, when you pull your workers back, you use them to activate actions on your tableau all at once, and you can chain them. So right away, let's say you've got four workers.
I really like that.
I got a little excited.
Yeah,
there.
it's really good. Yeah.
It was good. You collect your four workers that you've been placing one at a time, and now, boom, you take 4 different actions on your personal tableau that you have been building throughout the game.
If you're able to, right.
If you did it right.
If you did it right.
Yeah.
But if you did it right, I could envision like pulling a worker off the board onto my tableau and like doing like a placata, 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 like just hitting stuff.
Oh, and there's a whole battle mechanic in the game as well that if you attack somebody and you kill their workers, the workers don't go away forever. They go to the underworld, and when they go to the underworld, the penalty is that when you do the recall action and you take your guys back, you don't get to place them on to activate cards. So if somebody attacks them and kills them, they go to the underworld, and when you do recall, any guys you have that are on the board come back and activate spaces, but anybody in the underworld just goes back to your pool. So
I wrote down my question because I didn't want to interrupt your explanation of what was going on, but I think we're kind of heading into that world. I'm really enjoying these worker placement and
this
games.
was
right?
a bunch of yeah.
Right, and that's the bunch of ands that I want to hear you describe, Nick. So what are the ands? So we got worker placement and I think I heard you say tableau building.
Yep.
Tableau / and Tableau can become an engine. You have, and then it's asynchronous. I'm sorry, not
asymmetrical.
Asymmetrical, right? So each faction plays a little differently. Some of them are more game bending than others, but there are 16 different factions you can play. Each of which their units will behave a little differently. So that's a thing as well. And then there is the area control and placement. The way so worker placement, a lot of times you are buying 4 spots.
Right.
I'll reference viticulture again. Viticulture has got a good scaling mechanism. If there's 3 players, then they make sure that only 2 of them can go in this spot here, right? The way that Dwellings does that is you actually have to do the first placement in an unoccupied spot. You can't go where someone else is. And after that, you have to expand from where you placed before. You are expanding your dwelling, your inhabitation of the Elder Vale. So you have to pick and choose where you're going. And in this way, there's a little bit, still worker placement, but there's a little bit of area control and combat system in there, because if Mike puts his dragon somewhere, well, suddenly I want to go there less, right? And so it's not strict worker placement where it's just like, oh yeah, 3 guys get to pick this every round. It's, well, a second person could put his guy there if they wanted to, and it's going to turn into combat, and you're going to die. So
okay, so worker placement and tableau building and some combat and some area control,
resource management, resource collection, tile laying, yeah.
There's a lot of good ands in this.
Oh,
one.
sure.
Salad at the end.
Yeah, point salad at the end. You're going to get points for a lot of things at the end. Yeah,
and that feels good too, because games that have you leave points on the board aren't a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Or you have some negatives to them. Let me say it. Not that they're not fun. There's some negative play experiences. You work on something and you don't get points for everything. Negative play experience.
And combat in this game is very blood ragey. I will say that. When you start a combat, you start going around the board, and anybody who is in an adjacent area has the option to come into combat, and they can start moving
Royal
people
Rumble.
in. So you can have 3 or 4 people in one combat. And the other unique thing about combat in this game, which I don't know if I love it or not, as most people know, I do not like dice. But in this game, if I have each of the different, you have 4 different types of characters. 4. They roll different amounts of dice, and so like my workers, if they are in a combat, they roll 1 die. But if you have your dragon will roll 3 dice. So let's just say in a simplified, your dragon goes into my area and attacks one of my just regular workers. You're going to roll 3 die. I'm going to roll 1 die. There's a couple other things you can dedicate swords to roll extra dice.
But there's dice in combat, which I like.
Right. But let's say it's just that we don't throw in any extra dice or anything. You roll your 3, I roll my 1. You take the highest die wins the combat. So if you roll 3 die, and
I just have better odds of getting a higher die because I've got more dice in the pool.
You roll 3, 4, 5, and I just roll 1 die, and I roll a 6. I win.
Okay, so it's a dice pool mechanic. It's not a summation. It's dice pool.
Right. So there is a cap at a number of dice, so you really can't go like
6.
Crazy with the number of swords that you can play for extra dice too.
Right. You max at 6. So yeah. So it's interesting. It's got
kind of a 878 Vikings or 868 Vikings ish. With a cap on dice. You've got dice pools, right? Depending who's got more fighters in each of that combat.
Every time one of your workers dies.
I haven't heard anything negative, though. Somebody give me something expensive. What is it?
It's expensive. It's going to be hard to get.
It's got,
It's got
dice.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Nick.
I was going to say it does win the award for largest setup for then relatively simplest play. I mean, it takes up a big table for 3 or 4 people to play.
That sounds like Memoir.
And everyone's got it's
Memoir's
fine.
got a huge setup time for a very simple game, and that is a negative.
I think if you're going to play with people that know how to play the game, though, and everybody does their own thing to help set it up, it'll definitely mitigate a lot of that time, I think.
Yeah, Nick was the only one who knew what he was doing, so we all had to wait for him, rely on him. So yeah,
that's a great spotting to call on that, Nick. More importantly, though, how'd your Blood Bowl game go?
On Monday, I have been playing some Blood Bowl.
Set us up. Why are we playing Blood Bowl?
What we're playing Blood Bowl because we're in a league. It's very exciting. And
you and the mouse in your pocket?
Oh my goodness!
No, it's me. Why don't you jump in there, Carl?
Nick and I, we're playing Blood Bowl. Blood Bowl is back in person in league at Armada. I'm excited. Tell us about your first match. Give us a quick summary.
So, first match I played Imperial Nobility against Snotlings, and it was my first match ever playing Imperial Nobility at all. They're one of the new teams that came in the 2020 starter box. And they're not even fully painted yet, which makes me a real Blood Bowl player, right?
Right.
But that's fine. I like them a lot. They're fun. They play like your standard human team, but they have different skills, basically. And then I played against Snotlings, which are anything but your standard team. Snotlings, for anyone listening that cares at all about Blood Bowl, are like
the
crazy.
two of y'all.
They're like shorter goblins. They're like miniature little. They're like Smurfs, like angry green little Smurfs.
Like the Chihuahuas of the Goblin Kingdom. There you go.
Most of their team are weak as possibly as you can be. Strength of 1, which anyone that knows anything about numbers, that's a pretty low number. But then they also have trolls and pump wagons, and they cheat. So basically,
this podcast is awesome.
I hear it's the loneliest number.
There you go. So it's not like basically cheat. So I was playing regular Blood Bowl, trying to score touchdowns. They were throwing bombs at me, and that's okay apparently. And there you go. That's how
the referee is a goblin, so he's turning his head because the team that Nick is playing is what they call Imperial Nobility. So picture like the poshest of the poshest nobles. Like they look like the guys that guard the Vatican, like Vatican guards, with the puffy shirts and the puffy pants and all the bright colors. Feathers everywhere. And they're all hidey mighty. Now they got these little goblins running around like chihuahuas just trying to, trip them and knock them down. Did you get a victory on that?
Throwing bombs. No, I did not. So I think it would have been, I was well on my way to a beautifully orchestrated draw, which a lot of Blood Bowl games end up being. Like, you're working your way to that draw. And I was about 3 spaces away from scoring my touchdown, and nothing he could do to stop me except throw a bomb from 8 spaces away. He needed to roll a 6, and then a 4 or better, and then a 4, and then a 4 or better.
No.
And he rolled a 6, and then a 4 or better, and a 4 or better, and he did. So he threw a bomb right at my guy, and that was the end of the game. So there you go.
Roll better, Nick. Roll better.
That's fine. Roll better. I mean, I was sitting there when he was rolling. My mind flashed of like, is there a way for me to spend my reroll to make him reroll? Because I can't believe he just rolled that.
How do I mitigate his rolling?
Is rolling.
Yeah. I mean, Mike, it was like you last night when it's like there was that one combat where you had everything in your favor, and then Rob rolled like a 6-6-5 or something.
That never happens.
What business
Liars.
doing that?
Oh man,
I don't believe it.
Okay,
Liar.
so Blood Bowl on a individual game basis, even individual half basis, can get a little crazy like that with the rolls. But Nick, I want to hear your perspective as a newer Blood Bowl player. Because you're not playing just for the game. You're playing for the league. You're playing for the player development, the star player points. How did it feel at the end of the game once you run through the end game winnings, earnings, upgrades of your players, even with a loss? What were your feelings?
No, it was great. It actually really immersed you right away into the fact that this is a season. And so right away I took away none of my players got injured. That's huge. That's great for the league play. I don't have to worry. It's one less thing to worry about. That's good. One of my players got a full 6 FPP.
Star player points. I
was able to choose a new primary skill. So I have a lineman with block now
That's
an
huge.
extra lineman with block
And wrestle.
to move
Or fend.
Yeah,
and
to move
fend.
into the next, in fend. Yeah, so it's linemen. So I got fend and block. So I'm excited about that. It very much was okay, I lost the game, but the season's not over. I'm building my team towards this season. And like right away, I loved how it turned into that. And this was my first game like that. I've done tournament games where you just do a complete reset from one, you play 4 games in a row, but your team doesn't change from one to the other. I have done the Blood Bowl online, the Blood Bowl 2, where we did a league, and that was fun. And this is, the team development is a very different mindset, and it's a fun part of the game. I'm having to worry about, for the first time, things like not making my team too expensive,
Right.
which is interesting as well. I think I'm mismanaging a little bit. I'll just say it out loud now. But my team is pretty expensive, so anyone I'm going to go up against now is probably going to be able to buy a bunch of inducements, and they're going to be happy about that.
That's the
but in the
balancing
meantime-
mechanism. Whenever you play a match against another team that has more skills than you, more players than you, more money than you, right? The commissioner likes to balance that out by giving petty cash to the other team to make the team's value equal. You take that petty cash and you buy extra stuff, like a Budweiser keg, which is beer you keep on the sideline. So if your players get knocked out, give them some of that beer, and boom, they're back in the game. Right, so if Nick goes up against me, for example, I got a lower value team. We're not as posh. We don't dress as nicely as Nick's team, right? I don't have as much value. I can spend that money on cheerleaders or extra coaches, or things that help me win that game. That's that catch-up mechanism. So, Nick, thank you for sharing that, man. I'm glad you're having fun. I'm glad to see you out there, and thank you for the report. More importantly, thank you for calling in.
Yeah, thanks
brother.
for calling.
We needed that.
Yeah.
I am excited to be able to call in. I apologize for missing the last couple of weeks, but glad that you were there for me.
Seeing that you talked
Great.
about Blood Bowl,
Good
you
time.
made up for missing the last few weeks. So I
yeah.
appreciate it.
Oh,
I'm
there
excited
you go,
about
there you
that.
go.
Yeah.
And I'll be my next league game is Monday. I think a lot of guys are going to be there Monday, so I'm excited for that.
All right, brother. Be safe.
Thanks for calling.
Awesome. You guys have a good night.
You too.
Yep, bye-bye.
So yeah.
That was Nick Oben from Wesley Chapel talking about best game ever, Blood Bowl.
Dwellings, you mean?
Oh,
Dwellings.
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
dwellings. Yeah.
We all know.
No. It's Beyond the Sun.
That's right.
Beyond the sun. Yeah.
Phone lines open 813-618-7099. Thank you, Nick, for calling in. We got some comments on the board. I think Diego was saying he is going to be at the shop. So Diego will be at the shop for game day.
Cool.
He's asking if anybody has Project L. I'm not familiar with Project L.
Project L rings a bell.
No, I didn't back that one. I wanted to. I missed the first Kickstarter for it, and then I wanted to back the second time that it came around, and I kind of hesitated, and then I kind of regret it now.
I'm sure Dan has
Diego's not happy with you. But Diego also says, Robert, you'll be happy about this. Diego says he will be bringing Nidavellir.
Oh, Nidavellir.
Yeah, so we get our first chance to play
That is a
Nidavellir.
game I really, really, really have wanted to play, and I have been looking all over for that game for about a month now, and it is sold out everywhere. It's just one of those games right now that's just impossible to get, and I'm assuming they have done more prints, but it's on
last
a
one of
ship
the night.
somewhere probably. So
Beans and Ice Podcast. State your name. Where you're calling from.
Hey guys, this is Ben from Tampa calling in.
hey, Ben,
Oh, there he goes.
Hey,
how you doing?
what's up, guys? Good. How's everybody doing?
Pretty good tonight. What have you been up to?
Happy that you called.
Yeah.
I have been. What have I been up to? I got a game of Kemet Blood and Sand in the other night. Yeah, I played the original Kemet and I played with the 1.5 rules, and then I finally got Blood and Sand on the table, and really enjoyed it. Actually, it was a lot of fun. It was. I'd forgotten about how much of a tug of war, crabs in a bucket kind of deal the ending of the game is. But I thought, I had a lot of fun. It was really cool.
What? You said crabs in a bucket? What am I missing here?
He doesn't understand. I understand. Me and you understand what that means.
Right.
Yeah.
That's and I'm surprised Ben knows this one
Is
because
that like
to
a
me,
pylon type of reference or something?
that was something I learned like in the hood I grew up in.
Yeah.
Right. The bucket of crabs. Right. So as a fisherman, you never need a lid for a bucket of crabs. Why? Why don't you need a lid on a bucket of crabs? You have to worry about them escaping. Because whenever one crab thinks he's going to get out of the bucket, all the other ones grab him and pull him back in.
Okay.
So it's that
All right.
mentality of you never let anyone get out, get better, improve, because you pull them right back into the bucket.
Gotcha. I like that reference. I'm going to steal that now.
Yeah, and
Yeah, Kemet can feel like that.
I think the end game of Kemet, really encapsulates that pretty well.
Yeah, when Kemet in general is really just a punch each other in the face. I mean, it's such a tight board. There's so many people on the board.
Everything's so close.
Yeah, everything's so close. Everything's like 2 steps away.
You find out who your friends really are.
Yep. What were you saying, Ben?
No, that's all I got up to. I know we're running short of time, but
you're good.
I was thinking about something.
You are the show.
Rob, that I am the show, naturally. I was thinking about something, Rob, that you said when we played Power Grid the other day.
Okay.
And it got me thinking about, do you, and this is for all you guys, of course, but when you're playing a game, do you go in, because Rob, what you said is you like to, when you play games, you like to just go in and just kind of do stuff, try something different, see what happens, kind of thing. So I was curious for, if that's in general or for the rest of the guys, when you play, do you go in with a plan / strategy, or do you want to just go in and just start messing around and see what happens?
And let me start with the answer to that, just because, again, I know you're keying off of what I said, and I believe I was referencing, and this is almost always the case in my first play or two of a game. We did it actually reminds me, we used to do this in Scythe when Carlos and I were teaching new people Scythe. I don't remember if it was a Stegmeyer thing or where you had heard about it, but
it was in the rule book.
In the rule book. One of the recommendations is the first time you're playing or you're teaching somebody, the first time or two around the table as you go through turns, have everybody do a different action. And that way you can teach the different actions. You can let each person at the table see how an action plays out. And the way I carry that over to my first plays in games is if I see everybody else kind of going, if Carlos is kind of doing one thing, if there's multiple paths to victory or whatever, and Carlos is doing one thing and then Will goes next and he's doing something different, then or even if they're doing the same thing, I'm going to try to choose something different at that point, just because in my first couple games, I'm not as concerned about winning. I am pretty competitive. I'm always trying to win, but
we never noticed.
You never noticed?
No,
okay.
never. But, like 15 years, never noticed.
But I put a lot of faith in the hope in the fact that the game designers have balanced the game, and if they've given me different ways to play the game, I want to maybe try a different way than what everybody else is doing. And just number one, to see how it works, to see how that mechanic goes, to see if that's a valid strategy. But number two, just to be different in my first games. Now, after I've played a game 2 or 3 times, kind of transitioning from that, I normally do go into a game. If I know the game, I will go in with some pre-plans. But actually, some of my favorite games are games that either because of the asymmetry in the setup or the asymmetrical powers that you have that you might get randomly at the beginning of the game, the ones that make you adjust as you go or make you come, not be able to pre-plan too much. I really enjoy that, but I don't want to hog the time, but I think that's kind of where I was coming from, that especially in my first couple plays of a game, I like to try to do something a little different just to kind of see how that mechanic works, see how that goes. But we can go around the table here. Mike, what do you think about that?
Typically when I play a new game, I in my head I always think I'm going to try and break the game. Like, let me try just some crazy off the wall stuff to see what happens. And sometimes you will break a game where you kind of find a broken mechanic or something that doesn't really gel well with the game. Yeah. So and then I do kind of take that approach where after a few games in. And again, asymmetrical. I love asymmetrical powers, but it's more of like, okay, I've got this particular race or this particular group, and I do kind of plan out my attack and then leave myself open a little bit in case somebody encroaches upon that. But I mean, that's generally the approach I take.
What do you think, Will?
If it's not a war game, for one, if it's just like a regular Euro game or any deck builder, I do whatever. I don't go in with a plan at all. And I honestly, playing especially against you guys, sometimes I win. Like, I just like, surprise. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do whatever. It's when I think too hard, I start losing.
Yeah.
That's what I realized that. Just take your action, whatever your first choice was, go with that.
Yeah.
That's usually what it is. Don't overthink it and just keep going. But there's a caveat that if I'm playing against Carlos, I just go after him.
Oh yeah. If any game
that's
raise two are in the same game, they're gonna.
I just punch you in the face.
Yeah.
just punch you in the face. That's it.
Yeah, what do you think, Carlos?
That was gonna be my comment. Is that like
Beat you to it. Yeah.
it really does depend on who's with you. For me,
Sure.
like who's at the table, because I do have some gamer friends that are like real chill, real laid back, kind of like let's explore the game and the mechanics behind it, and I love that feeling. But then when I sit next to someone or at the table with someone who's like real competitive, like that competitive dog in me is like, yeah, you can't let them have that. You really got to, figure out a strategy to a point of detriment where I'm so focused on, I'm just going to stick to this plan. I don't care.
Brian and Kai Zeno, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But they
like
win.
those two together.
Yeah.
They win.
Yeah, well, they're very ultra aggressive. Yeah, they
Yes.
always. Any game you play with them, if there's some way to punch you, they're going to punch you. So you got to be ready for that. So,
I will say this: anybody who plays against Carlos, if you punch him hard enough at the right moment, and he attacks you the next round, he's gonna lose because he's just gonna focus on
That's
you.
it.
He just focuses. He
Goes
hides
like a
focus,
dog on a
man.
bone.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you get me to lose is come at me.
And Rob knows that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He
Yeah.
does.
We do that. You got to hit him at the right time. So yeah.
And then my mind goes all crazy. So that's a great question, Ben.
Yeah.
Will we see
no
you
problem.
at game day?
I think so.
July 10th.
2 weeks, a week
Yeah.
and a half. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're I signed up for the.
Yeah, he
Who
did.
Goes
He was the
There.
second person, actually. Third after you.
Oh, is he
Yeah,
doing Who Goes
so-
There's with us? That'll be my last game day before the new child comes. So it's going to be an all-day event.
Okay.
I think I'm going to kill my tab over at your turn with regards to porters and milkshakes.
Whoa.
Buy it for everybody. Yeah. Buy around for the house.
Oh, I didn't say everybody.
Yeah.
I was about me. I'm going to be full of...
Porters and milkshakes.
Oh,
that
bro.
should be good in the morning.
Brings
Yeah.
all the boys to the yard.
I heard that
Brings
he
the
wants to
boys
do
to the
another,
yard.
spicy ramen challenge.
So I'll be there and I'll see you then. Ben, thank you so much
Yep,
for calling.
I'll be there.
We
No
need more
problem,
of that.
Guys.
So
Always good to talk to you.
Yeah.
take care. Have a good night.
Don't be
Ben.
stranger. Thanks, Ben.
All
See
right.
ya.
Bye.
Good night.
That was Ben from Tampa, and I put a post up on the chatter to see if anybody else was trying to dial in to let us know. We'd wait for
So
him.
we can hang for a few more
But
minutes. We're just a minute after 10. So
nobody pointed
No
out in the
responding.
chat that they would be calling
Okay.
in. So I think it's going to be ending here.
Okay.
I would have stuck with him then, but nobody stuck. But that worked out well. It was a great conversation. We had Mitchell from Louisiana call in. He talked about Oath. Nick Oben gave us a rundown of his game of Dwellings of Eldervale. More importantly, he talked about his Blood Bowl League match.
Yeah.
And then
More importantly.
Ben from Tampa, he talked Kemet, Blood, and Sand. Now, I've only played the original version of Kemet,
As have I. But
not the Blood and Sand version, but
last game day, there was a playthrough of that. Lonnie, Muhammad, there were two others played. It was a
I
four-player
think it
game.
was
Raphael played.
and another couple. I forgot the other couple's name. I can't remember right now.
Okay, but yeah, they had a
was it
game.
Raph and Rachel?
So I got to
No,
watch
that
part of
wasn't
that.
them.
Yeah, Raphael played, but not Rachel, maybe or
No,
I don't
No,
remember.
they played Shogun with us.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it was a 4 or 5 player game of it, so I got to see part of it.
You forgot we had another caller.
Oh, he hasn't hit them all yet. I don't think, has he?
Who'd I miss?
I don't know.
Oh, Michael's not a call.
called this.
He doesn't count.
That was a very short call.
That was a 10-second call.
He tricked me.
Anyway,
it is easy.
yeah.
We will ask you folks to call in next week, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Look for Sunday when we post up because we're going to stick around. We're going to pause for a moment. We're going to end the show, so we're done for the
Yeah,
evening,
we're
folks.
in the show.
We here are going to pause for a moment. Then we're going to spend the rest of the evening
Recording some
getting in
content.
more depth
Yep.
about the games that we played, giving you more of that deeper conversation about the games we played for you to listen to starting Sunday, so that maybe next week you can talk to us about games we played and give us your opinions on those games and or even our conversation, things like that. So look out for that content Thursday nights right here, Beans and Nice podcast. And I did confirm with my wife.
Okay.
I want to get that news out there. We are having the baby July 12th. That's a Monday.
Okay. So by
So-
Thursday, you're going to be ready to go again.
That's what she said.
Okay.
Well, that's what she said.
All right, yeah.
Yes,
Scott
it is
is
what she
committed.
said.
That is what she said.
She said we should be home, and as long as everything's fine,
Yep.
Thursday should be good to go.
Good
so,
to go.
baby or not, we will be here. So we're not going to miss. So
Awesome.
far, so good.
All right.
Like, I totally missed my son's graduation. I didn't even go. We made sure to do the show.
For
'cause that's priorities.
Yeah. Life goals. Yeah.
So, Carlos, would you say the baby will be Deliverance on the 12th?
Nice
on
call out to the
joke
shirt.
there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that Kickstarter still running for Andrew? I think it is. Because there were like 666 backers. And he was like, help me get out of this.
Somebody drop.
Wow. No.
Deliverance is on Kickstarter. So
I know, but just okay.
Yeah.
make sure you jump in on that. And actually, I meant to say it too, while this is still fresh for those of you watching. Tacticus. Tacticum.
Tacticum,
There it is. Yeah, Tacticum is a Roman-style abstract game.
Is it on Kickstarter again?
They're doing a second version on Kickstarter, but it's a bigger, more deluxe version. The board is bigger. The pieces are
Okay, I'm getting
plasticky.
I'm getting it.
Yeah.
I'm getting it.
So check out Tacticum. They're on Kickstarter right now. The designer has been very vocal with me on the chats. Now Michael gets to slap the table. We'll see if his hand
all
goes
three of
through.
us slap the table, so you got to slap your table. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
So we are the Beans and Dice podcast. I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
And I'm William.
And I'm Mike.
And we're a podcast about how we game. Thanks for watching. We will see you all next week. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Happy gaming.
I'm gonna go home and do this right now.
Well, we're still live. You know that, right?